Listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you will fundamentally change how you navigate this world. Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher who understood human nature better than perhaps any man who ever lived, identified three emotions that, when revealed, mark you as prey in the eyes of others. These emotions are fear, pity, and shame. Every single day, millions of people broadcast these emotions like beacons, signaling their weakness to a world that devours the vulnerable without mercy. You might be one of them, and if you are, today is the day that changes. Hobbes lived through civil war, political upheaval, and the complete breakdown of civilized society. He watched as men turned into beasts when the thin veneer of social order was stripped away. He saw what happens when the strong prey upon the weak, when order collapses into chaos, and when human nature reveals its true face. From this crucible of observation, he understood a fundamental truth that most people spend their entire lives refusing to acknowledge. The world is not fair, it is not kind, and it does not care about your feelings. The only thing that matters is power, and the only thing that protects you is your ability to project strength, even when you feel weak. The first emotion Hobbes warned against revealing is fear. Fear is the great betrayer, the emotion that transforms you from a player in the game of life into a pawn to be moved by others. When you show fear, you are telling the world that you can be controlled, manipulated, and dominated. You are announcing that you have identified something or someone as more powerful than yourself, and in doing so, you invite that power to be exercised against you. Fear is not inherently weakness. Every rational person experiences fear. The weakness lies in the revelation, in the moment you allow others to see that you are afraid. Think about the last time you walked into a room full of strangers, started a new job, or faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable. That flutter in your chest, that quickening of your pulse, that voice in your head telling you that you don't belong, that was fear, and it was natural. But the moment you let that fear show in your posture, your voice, your eyes, you gave everyone in that room information they could use against you. You told them that you could be intimidated, that you could be pushed around, that you were not someone to be taken seriously. And once that information is out there, once people have cataloged you as fearful, it becomes exponentially harder to earn their respect. The world respects strength, not vulnerability. This is not a moral judgment. It is simply the way things are. You can rail against this reality. You can wish it were different. You can spend your energy trying to change human nature itself. But while you're doing that, others who understand the game are winning. They are taking the promotions you deserved, claiming the respect you craved, and living the life you dreamed of, all because they understood something you didn't, that strength must be projected even when it is not felt. This doesn't mean you should never feel fear. Fear is often wisdom in disguise, a warning system that keeps you alive and alert to danger. The key is to feel the fear, acknowledge it privately, learn from it, and then present a mask of calm confidence to the world. When you master this ability, the ability to feel fear without showing it, you gain something invaluable, the respect of others and the power that comes with it. The second emotion Hobbes identified as dangerous to reveal is pity. Pity is the emotion that tells others you see yourself as superior to someone else's suffering, but it also reveals your own soft spots, your own vulnerabilities. When you openly pity someone, you are showing the world what you fear becoming. You are creating a map of your own weaknesses, highlighting the areas where you can be hurt, manipulated, or broken down. But more dangerously, pity marks you as someone who can be taken advantage of. The moment you reveal that you feel sorry for someone, you signal that you are willing to sacrifice your own interests for the sake of others. This might sound noble, and in a perfect world, it would be. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where predators exist, where manipulation is common, and where your kindness can and will be weaponized against you. This doesn't mean you should become heartless or cruel. It means you should be strategic about your compassion. Help others when you can, but do it from a position of strength, not from a place of pity. When you act from pity, you are acting from emotion, and emotional decisions are rarely good decisions. They are impulsive, poorly thought out, and often benefit the wrong people while harming yourself and those you actually care about. Consider the person who constantly talks about how sorry they feel for their lazy coworker, their manipulative friend, or their toxic family member. They wear their pity like a badge of honor, believing it makes them a good person. But what they're really doing is advertising their weakness. They're telling everyone around them that they can be guilt-tripped, that they can be manipulated through emotional appeals. and that they will sacrifice their own well-being for others. These people become magnets for users, manipulators, and energy vampires who drain them dry while giving nothing in return. The strong person, the person who understands Hobbes's wisdom, helps others strategically. They evaluate whether their help will actually improve the situation or just enable bad behavior. They consider whether the person asking for help has earned it through their actions, not just their words. They understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their choices rather than rushing in to save them from themselves. The third emotion, and perhaps the most dangerous to reveal, is shame. Shame is the emotion that tells the world you have accepted someone else's judgment of your worth. When you show shame, you are essentially saying that you agree with those who would diminish you, that you accept their right to determine your value, and that you believe their opinion matters more than your own self-assessment. Shame is the ultimate surrender of personal power. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt is about actions. You feel guilty when you've done something wrong, and guilt can motivate you to make amends and do better. Shame is about identity. You feel ashamed when you believe you are fundamentally flawed, unworthy, or inadequate. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. And when you reveal shame to others, you are inviting them to treat you as the mistake you believe yourself to be. The world is full of people who will try to shame you. They will criticize your choices, mock your dreams, question your abilities, and attempt to make you feel small. They do this not because they care about you or want to help you improve, but because diminishing others makes them feel bigger. They feed on your shame like vampires feed on blood, and the more shame you show, the more aggressive they become. But here's what they don't want you to understand. Their attempts to shame you only have power if you accept them. Their opinions only matter if you decide they matter. Their judgment only affects you if you give it permission to do so. The moment you refuse to be ashamed, the moment you reject their right to determine your worth, their power over you evaporates. This is why successful people often seem arrogant to others. It's not that they think they're better than everyone else. It's that they refuse to accept others' attempts to diminish them. They understand that in a world where everyone is trying to establish dominance, the person who refuses to be dominated has a massive advantage. They know that confidence, even when it's not fully felt, is a form of armor that protects them from the constant attacks on their self-worth. Now, understanding these three emotions and their dangers is only the beginning. The real work lies in learning to master them, to feel them without showing them, and to use this knowledge to build genuine power and respect in your life. This is not about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming strategic, intentional, and strong. When you feel fear, don't deny it or ignore it. Feel it fully, understand what it's telling you, and then decide how to respond. Sometimes fear is telling you to be careful, to prepare better, to think through your approach. Sometimes fear is just your brain's way of keeping you in your comfort zone when you need to grow. Learn to distinguish between rational fear that serves you and irrational fear that holds you back. But regardless of which type of fear you're experiencing, never let others see it. Face your challenges with a calm, confident demeanor, even if your heart is racing inside. When you encounter someone who is struggling or suffering, resist the urge to immediately express pity. Instead, evaluate the situation objectively. Is this person a victim of circumstances beyond their control? Or are they experiencing the natural consequences of their own choices? Are they looking for genuine help to improve their situation? Or are they seeking validation for their victimhood? Can you actually help them in a meaningful way? Or would your intervention just enable their dysfunction? Answer these questions honestly, and then act from a place of strategic compassion rather than emotional pity. When someone attempts to shame you, recognize it for what it is, an attempt to control you by making you question your own worth. Don't argue with them, don't try to justify yourself, and don't show that their words have affected you. Simply refuse to accept their judgment. Continue to act according to your own values and standards regardless of their opinions. This doesn't mean you should ignore all feedback or criticism. Some of it might be valuable. But you should evaluate it objectively, take what's useful, and discard what's not, all without showing shame or defensiveness. The mastery of these emotions, fear, pity, and shame, is really about the mastery of yourself. It's about understanding that you are the only person who gets to decide your worth, your direction, and your response to the world around you. When you truly internalize this understanding, when you truly claim ownership of your own power, something remarkable happens. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You stop being pushed around by circumstances and start shaping circumstances to your advantage. People will notice this change in you. They will see that you can no longer be intimidated, manipulated, or diminished. Some will respect you more. Others will be threatened by your newfound strength and will try even harder to tear you down. This is expected and natural. The weak often band together to attack the strong, not because the strong have done anything wrong, but because strength itself is a reminder of their own weakness. When this happens, and it will happen, remember that their attacks are actually confirmation that you're doing something right. If you were still weak, still controllable, still diminishable, they wouldn't need to attack you. They attack you because you've become dangerous to their worldview, dangerous to their ability to feel superior by putting others down. Their hostility is evidence of your progress. But here's where many people make a crucial mistake. They think that becoming strong means becoming isolated, that refusing to show weakness means refusing to connect with others. This is not true. The strongest people are not those who need no one. They are those who choose carefully whom they need and on what terms. They build relationships from a position of strength rather than weakness, and as a result, their relationships are healthier, more balanced, and more fulfilling. When you are no longer desperately seeking approval, you can connect with others authentically. When you are not driven by fear, you can take calculated risks that lead to growth. When you refuse to accept shame, you can pursue your goals without being derailed by criticism. This is true freedom, not the absence of challenges or difficulties, but the presence of choice in how you respond to them. The path to this mastery is not easy. It requires constant vigilance, continuous self-reflection, and the courage to act against your immediate emotional impulses. There will be times when you slip, when fear, pity, or shame get the better of you, when you reveal more than you should. When this happens, don't waste time beating yourself up about it. Learn from it, adjust your approach, and move forward. Mastery is not about perfection. It's about progress. You will also need to develop what I call emotional intelligence in reverse. Most people think emotional intelligence is about understanding and expressing emotions. But true emotional intelligence, the kind that gives you power in the real world, is about understanding emotions so well that you can choose which ones to express and which ones to keep private. It's about reading the emotions of others so accurately that you can predict their behavior and respond accordingly. This skill becomes your greatest asset in every area of life. In your career, you'll know when to push for a promotion and when to wait, when to speak up in meetings and when to stay silent, when to collaborate and when to compete. In your relationships, you'll know when someone is testing you, when they're being genuine, and when they're trying to manipulate you. In your personal growth, you'll know when to push yourself harder and when to be patient with your progress. But perhaps most importantly, this understanding will give you compassion, real compassion, not the weak sympathy that others mistake for kindness. When you truly understand human nature, when you see how fear, pity, and shame drive so much of human behavior, you develop a deeper appreciation for the struggles that others face. You don't judge them for their weaknesses because you understand that everyone has weaknesses. You don't exploit their vulnerabilities because you know how it feels to be vulnerable. You simply choose not to reveal your own vulnerabilities unnecessarily. This is the paradox of strength. The strongest people are often the most understanding of weakness, not because they've never experienced it, but because they've learned to master it. They know intimately the temptation to seek validation from others, to avoid difficult challenges, to accept others' judgments of their worth. They understand these temptations because they've felt them, wrestled with them, and ultimately overcome them. As you develop this mastery, you'll begin to see the world differently. You'll notice patterns in human behavior that were invisible to you before. You'll see how people unconsciously broadcast their weaknesses, how they invite the very treatment they complain about, how they sabotage themselves by revealing too much too early. And you'll feel both sad for them and grateful for your own understanding. You'll also begin to recognize others who have achieved this same mastery. They're the ones who seem calm in crisis, confident without being arrogant, helpful without being taken advantage of. They're the ones who command respect without demanding it, who influence others without manipulating them, who lead by example rather than by force. These people become your new peer group, your new standard for what's possible. But remember, this knowledge comes with responsibility. When you understand human nature this deeply, when you can read people this accurately, you have a choice. You can use this knowledge to exploit others, or you can use it to protect yourself while lifting others up. The choice you make will determine not just your external success, but your internal peace. The person who uses this knowledge to exploit others may gain short-term advantages, but they will ultimately find themselves surrounded by people who are there only for what they can get, not for who they are. They will live in constant fear of being exposed, constantly paranoid about others doing to them what they do to others. They will have power, but they will not have peace. The person who uses this knowledge to protect themselves while genuinely helping others discovers something remarkable. When you are truly strong, you can afford to be generous. When you are truly confident, you can afford to be humble. When you are truly powerful, you can afford to be kind. Your strength becomes a foundation for genuine goodness, not a weapon for personal gain. This is the ultimate lesson that Hobbes, in all his cynicism about human nature, might have missed. Understanding the beast in man doesn't mean you have to become a beast yourself. It means you can choose to be something better, something higher, while still being realistic about the world you live in. You can be the person who refuses to be prey without becoming a predator. So, as you leave this conversation and return to your life, remember the three emotions that mark you as vulnerable: fear, pity, and shame. Feel them when they arise, learn from them what they have to teach you, but never reveal them carelessly to others. Master these emotions, and you master yourself. Master yourself, and you gain the power to shape your own destiny. The world is watching to see what you're made of. Every interaction is a test. Every challenge an opportunity to demonstrate your strength or reveal your weakness. Most people fail these tests because they don't even know they're being tested. But you now know. You understand the game being played around you every day. You have the knowledge to play it skillfully. The question now is not whether you can master these emotions. The question is whether you will. The choice is yours, and it's a choice you'll make not once, but every single day for the rest of your life. Choose strength, choose wisdom, choose power, and in choosing these things, discover that you also choose freedom, respect, and the ability to live life on your own terms. This is your awakening. This is your advantage. This is your time to rise above the masses who will spend their entire lives broadcasting their weaknesses to a world that will gladly exploit them. You are no longer one of them. You never have to be again. The only question left is, what will you do with this power?